Hi, welcome back to This Reader's Life. This is episode, I think, 7. My name is Stephanie, and I'm glad that you're here. Today I definitely want to talk about my favorite books of 2025, and also one that I finished, which I've been working on, and that is Persuasion by Jane Austen. And it's really the first book that I've ever read by Jane Austen, and I finished it on her birthday, which I thought was kind of cool. And so then, of course, knowing what the date of her birthday was, I also discovered that she only lived 41 years, and I really thought about that, and it made me stop and think that in her 41 years, what she accomplished, and she wrote 6 books, and I think that's amazing. And she was a woman. That wasn't what women were doing at the time. It wasn't. I mean, women didn't say, I want to grow up and be a writer. I don't think that was very common. And it made me think, of course, you always reflect this time of year. We're wrapping up 2025. And so you have a tendency to think about your own life each year. And as you get a little older, I think you think about that a lot more. And this year I am 65 years old. And I thought about my childhood the other day, and I thought, what did you think you would be doing when you were 65 years old? And honestly, I never imagined it. And when I went back and started looking at what books I did read this year, and I was surprised by how few I had read, which made me sad, and it made me realize that there's only so much time, that there are so many books out there to be read, and obviously none of us are going to read all of the books available. But it made me feel like I needed to be maybe a little bit more intentional about how I read. I'd like to pick up the speed a little bit, and so I'm thinking about ways to have a larger group of books to choose from at the end of the year in next year in 2026. And also, I'm committed to this channel. I'm excited about it. I'm having such a good time with it. I'm learning a lot. And we'll talk about those 3 that I was able to choose as my most favorite for this year. I wish there were more. I certainly read more than 3 books, but as far as my very favorites, the others all sort of fell into the same spot. But there were 3 books that sort of jumped out at me. And they were all published within the last 5 years, and the books have similarities, and I would put them all under literary fiction, which is my main genre, so that hasn't changed. And my number 3, which would be my 3rd most favorite book for the year, would be Tom Lake. It's by Ann Patchett, who's on. And Tom Lake it was published in 2023, and it was written around the time, it was written in regard to the time around the pandemic, and it's written about a family. They own a cherry farm, and the main female character is Laura, who is the mom in the family. There are 3 daughters and her husband, Joe, and they're all together at the time of the story because of the pandemic. And so the girls are there to help with the cherry harvest. So they're going to help pick cherries. And as they are picking cherries, they encourage their mother, who's a little bit reticent about doing this, they encourage her to talk about her time when she was, in her former life, she was an actress. She was sort of an accidental actress, and and they tell you this. She tells you the story. Ann Patchett tells the story of how she became an actress, and it was sort of accidental. She was helping in her high school check in the different people that were coming for an audition to produce, for her high school to produce a play called Our Town. And if you don't know about that particular play, it's one of my favorite plays. I actually read it before I ever saw it, and then I saw it when I was in my teens, which was it made a big impression on me. It's always been one of my favorites, and it's beloved throughout America at least. And it's very good, and it's been done many different ways. And there was a revival, I think, of Our Town just recently with on Broadway. So anyway, she ended up with the lead part in Our Town, playing Emily in Our Town, and then she was seen by someone. She was asked to come to Hollywood to try to make a movie, which she ended up doing. And during that summer, while she was waiting for the movie production, I believe, she went to she was accepted in a theater company, to play Emily again in Our Town, and there in the Tom Lake was the name of the theater company, and there was also a lake there that was named Tom Lake. And she met a fellow actor. She was sort of swept off her feet by him. She was sort of an innocent young woman. And Peter Duke was he was playing, I believe, the father in Our Town. He wasn't playing the main male character, but they developed a relationship, and they had a very, very intense relationship through the time of the summer stock that they were performing in, and Peter Duke, as it turns out, and became a really, really well-known, super popular, a big star. And it turned out differently for Laura. I believe that her movie eventually came out. It wasn't a great hit, but she just went on with her life in an entirely different way for a wide variety of reasons. But she ended up married to her husband, Joe, on the farm, and they'd had 3 children. And her children are aware that she knew Peter Duke, and Peter Duke has movies. They watch the videos of Peter Duke. Never told them very much about her life, and they keep asking her, and they ask her husband too, who always says that is their mother's story to tell. I can't say it right. So that's what the book is about. And the thing that I loved about this book is that Laura does tell the story to her girls, and she does leave parts out, and I certainly understand her reasoning for doing so, and that's just part of what's so fascinating about the book. The reader gets to know what happened, and so I don't want to give anything away. It's a great story. It goes back and forth between her time at Tom Lake, when she is in the theater, and with the friends that she made there, and the way that they all kind of played together and acted together, and the ending was surprising, and it was also satisfying. And I've never been disappointed by the way Ann Patchett ends the book. She's sort of one of my heroes, so that's what I have to say about Tom Lake and Ann Patchett's writing. My second most favorite book, and these ran 2 and 3 could have gone either way, but I decided to, because I'm passionate about Ann Patchett, and I know that I'll talk about her again, I went ahead and put her down to 3. Number 2 is All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. It was published in 2024. The story is about a young boy named Patch who has so many things against him. Starting out in life, his mother has an addiction problem. She's a single parent. His father I believe, was killed. And Patch actually was born with one eye. So he was born missing one eye, and his mother, who loved him, she was devoted to him, but she also had a severe drinking problem. Plus, they were in poverty. She did not have education that allowed her to support them well at all. And so she turned it into a pirate story for Patch. And so he considered himself a pirate. He knew everything there was to know about pirates, and he wore a patch over his eye, a lot of different patches over his eye, because his mother made them for him and told him what a great, mighty pirate he was. And he loved that, and it was important to him. He had a friend named Saint, who was being raised by her grandmother, and she was just slightly older than him. I don't know if it was maybe a grade or 2. And this entire story takes place in Missouri. southern Missouri in the 1970s. And setting plays, to me, it played a big part in this book. I loved Chris Whitaker's descriptions of the time and the place. I don't know how he nailed it so well for Missouri in 1970, but he did a brilliant job of it. And he's an English writer. He lives in England, so I'm sure I'm going to guess that he has visited the States, but his ability to bring a setting to life and make it so vibrant and beautiful was really impressive. Patch is out in the woods and he sees something, a girl he realizes that this teenage girl, young girl, is being assaulted by a man, and Patch, he goes and jumps on the man, and as soon as he gets his attention, which happens pretty quickly, he tells the girl, run, she runs, and then Patch is gone. So she goes to the police and tells them, there's my cuckoo, she goes to the police and tells them, that Patch has been kidnapped, that she was assaulted. She's safe, but she wouldn't have been if Patch hadn't helped her. And so from there, the story twists and turns quite a bit. But it becomes a quest for Saint. The police department is looking everywhere for Patch, but over time, when they don't find him, it sort of slows down. It sort of gets forgotten, and Saint will not let it go. She haunts the police department. There's a particular sheriff that is very involved, and he's just a good guy in general. But Saint almost drives him insane because she is searching for clues. She considers herself a detective. She is not going to give up until Patch is found. And because of something that she discovers, Patch is found. And he's near death. He's very, very ill, and his kidnapper has not been found. Dark, like he feels like he was in a hole, but he's kept probably in a basement. Is what they sort of figure out. And he says he was visited while he was there by a girl who he doesn't know who she is, but she was called Grace. She called herself Grace, and she kept him going. She told him stories. She told him about all things that were beautiful, and which is sort of where the colors of all the colors of the dark, where that title would come from. Patch goes on, and his passion is to find Grace, because he considers her to have been a companion kidnappee. So I guess that's the best way I can think of to put it. And Saint ends up helping him, although the story becomes lots of twists and turns, lots of side plots and directions that this story goes. It's long. It's a long read. It's exquisitely written, and as Patch, his life doesn't go particularly well, but he is so faithful to finding the girl who helped him, Grace, hoping that he can save her from a horrible fate. And there was a point in the story, probably about 2/3 through, I was sure I had figured out who Grace was and was fairly certain that she would never be found. And I was so surprised by the ending. I was completely wrong about the ending. I had in my mind, I was so sure I was right. I was so sure I was right that I was almost disappointed by the ending. But again, this book has a beautiful, it's a glorious ending, and I enjoyed it a lot. So the last one is Horse, and Horse is by Geraldine Brooks, and this was easily my favorite of the year. It was written in 2022. I've never read Geraldine Brooks before, and I know she has a memoir out that I plan to read, and I may read some of her other books. I don't have anything on my except for what I already have on my Goodreads list. I have not made a 2026 list yet, And I'm excited to do that. I'm still watching booktube channels and listening to other people talk about what's going to happen in 2026, checking different published dates for what's coming out in the next at least 6 months. They usually don't give you more than about 6 months at a time. So I'm excited about that part. But Horse by Geraldine Brooks it's almost, I can almost say it's the best book I've ever read. I don't know if I could ever really narrow it down to just one book that I consider the best, but this is really high on my list. It was so well written. It's a dual timeline book. In the current day, more or less current day, we have Theo, who is he's working on his thesis, I believe, and he is an art history major. And then we also have Jess, who's from Australia, and she's working for the Smithsonian, and she works with bones and articulating and articulation. It's very, very good. Theo, at the beginning of the book, he is in, I think it's London, and he finds a painting in the trash that sort of fascinates him because he's an art history major. He is very interested in the painting that he's found. So that's the dual timeline, and eventually Jess and Theo meet and form a relationship. And there's the story of the painting, and of this. The painting is of a horse, and which is the subject. The horse is Lexington, is the name of the horse. And pre-Civil War, there was actually, it's based on a true story. There was actually a horse named Lexington. It had a few other names. The individual who owns the racehorse, it has a mare that is going to foal soon, and I think that's the way to say it. She's going to have her foal. Jarrett is a young slave who works in the stables, and he waits for the horse that he's taking care of, that he can see has gone into labor. He is waiting and helping this horse who has been bred with a sire that is an exceptional horse as well. So between the two horses, they feel that this colt that's going to be born is going to be could potentially be a great racehorse, which is exactly what happens. But the story of Jarrett and having and helping with this horse and taking this horse, actually being assigned to take care of the horse, is one of the most beautiful relationships between a man and an animal I've ever seen. Jarrett's understanding of this horse and the horse's understanding of Jarrett is so spectacular. So through the entire book, that's the part that I enjoyed the most. And then another part of the book, and I'm not going to go into, it covers a long period of time, and one of Jarrett's dreams is to buy his freedom, and it is certainly possible at that time for slave owners did allow slaves to buy their freedom, and that's something Jarrett is working toward. And at one point, the sacrifice he makes in order to ensure that the horse will be okay, is treated correctly, is one of the most beautiful things I've ever read, ever. There is also, while Jarrett is at the plantation where the horse is, the owner of the horse hires a painter to come and paint the horse. And Jarrett and the painter also develop a relationship. And the story of the painter is fascinating too. All of it comes together so beautifully, but the descriptions of the horse and I am not a horse person. This completely absorbed me. I was so surprised because, I mean, even when I was a kid, I can remember I had Black Beauty on my shelf forever. Never read it. I should probably go back and read it now and see what I think. But the writing is elegant. It's beautiful. The stories, when you think about the position that Jared was in pre-Civil War. Obviously, the way that Black people in this country were treated at that time was deplorable. And then the way that the story does move forward, and Theo, the art history major who is in this story, is also a Black man. And my goodness, the racial prejudice and the way that they, I'm not being eloquent at all, because it's so well done, and it makes you think so hard about how far we've come, as well as how far we haven't come, and as far as the way that we just treat human beings. So this horse, you go through the entire horse's life, and then how he lives on because of the painting and because his bones. His skeleton has been donated, and the Smithsonian becomes interested in it, and Jess, who is the woman who understands bones and things like, is able to do articulations and works on that type of thing. The bones are more or less stored away, which many things in the Smithsonian are stored away because there's just too many things for them to have on display all the time. But I believe the object is to articulate the skeleton of the horse, perhaps for an anniversary. I can't remember why, but overall, the entire story is I hate to keep using the word beautiful. It's lovely. It's gorgeous. It's glorious. I don't know. No, this book meant a great deal to me. I think I'll probably read it again, or read parts of it again. I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, that's the one, Horse by Geraldine Brooks. I highly recommend it. I would give it more stars than are available. So if you're looking for something that's truly a good literary read, it's beautiful. So that's what I've got for this time, for those three. I'm thinking hard about the future. I'm setting much higher goals for myself, which I'll talk about next time. I'm looking at some strategies for reading a lot more. I always feel like audible books are cheating. So I'm thinking very, very hard about more in Audible books. I'm looking at a low by year, and one of my goals, I thought that I wanted to reestablish my physical library, and I'm thinking really hard about how I want to do that, or if I want to do that. So coming up on Christmas, and I haven't asked for any books, but I may choose a couple that I remember from a long time back and treat myself maybe that I truly feel like I miss. Every now and then I have the desire to highlight or underline, and you can do that when you're doing when you're reading online. You can do it really easily, but sometimes just getting my hands on that paper means a lot to me. So we'll see. At any rate, you all have a good Christmas. Okay, and so until the next time, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and be kind to the planet. Merry Christmas. Bye-bye. See you next time.